Good morning, Bears. Welcome to the Big Drum Bear podcast on this fine Monday morning. It is so great to be with you once again. Yes. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Definitely appreciative. Oh, goodness. What a weekend it's been, I tell you. So much of a weekend, I don't even know what the title of today's episode is yet. Oh, boy. I had such a wonderful time. So many different things I got busy doing. Hey, Monkey Wrench is here. Honky Bear is here. Last Moomin, Sovereign Bear, Sergeant Peterson, Andrew J. I saw Steve Pinder in here. There he is. Feather's here. Good to see you, Feather, made of metal. I hope you and Mike are doing well. Let's see here. Just setting my music for the end of the show. I do that all like manually, all not Gay Jared myself style. Kick is here. Did I say Moomin? I did say Moomin. And Andrew J and J Ren. Hey, very cool, very cool. I dig that. And Gita is here whining. I had a thought about Gita just recently. Who else is here that I haven't mentioned and I didn't say hello to? Big Riggin, there you are. Liberty Snake, of course. Good to see you. And we'll talk about some of that today. Absolutely, Feather. Oh my goodness. Excuse me. It was, a pretty enjoyable weekend. I had taken my kiddos out to, I think I mentioned a little bit of that in my Instagram post that some of you saw. I took my kids out to this Dixon Waterfowl Refuge that's up on the north side of the river, or the east side of the river, about 45 minutes north of here. Excuse me. We've gone there a few times. It's been wonderful and beautiful out there. And they have this like 40-foot tall tower. And you can look out, maybe it's only 30. I don't know for sure. I'm guesstimating. But you can look out over the area and see this massive amount of wetland. And there's this big lake area, pond area, whatever it might be, that's about 4 miles long and 2 miles wide. And then on the far side of that, further west of that, just a little bit, is the actual river where the barges pass by. So, very, very, very cool. The winds were so heavy that day. The milkweed was just blowing everywhere. You know, it was like snow in our faces and stuff like that. It was kind of neat. And there's this trail, like a half-mile trail that goes through the bulrushes and other prairie grasses and things like that, the wetlands, so that you're walking directly over a watery area. Are you still waiting for me to go live? What? I hope not. J-Ren, is that a joke? Like, cause I seem kind of tired and dead or what? I hope the connection's coming through good for everybody. If not, feel free to give me a shout out. Oh, okay. All right. You just had to recycle it. No problem. Yeah. I came in a little bit ago. Sorry. I noticed that with other people's streams, if I get in the chat room ahead of the stream and then they go live, like I don't always know when they've gone live. It doesn't always tell me that. So sometimes I do have to recycle it, or by the time it automatically does it, they've been started, you know. I don't know. It does that to me sometimes. Depends on whether I'm on my phone or my laptop. I think it happens less on the laptop. It's awkward. At any rate, so yeah. Honky, thanks for putting that out there. That's cool of you. I actually set the clock last night before I went to bed that I was going to start this morning's episode just around 9. And I got pretty close. 9:10. Is that close? 9:09. I decided I'd better shower first. I've got an appointment later today, which I'll speak about in a moment, but I haven't totally lost my train of thought. So we're out there on this trail going through these bulrushes and everything like that are as tall as us, right? As tall as me and my wife. You darn right love Chunk. That's right. And by the way, that's coming out today. I'm re-releasing that. In fact, I'm pulling up a window as we speak to make sure I hit the re-release the Chunk t-shirt button. The link will be available in the video description. Go ahead and get yourself some Chunk love from good old bonfire.com, because that's what the fudge is up. Not just what's up, but what the fudge is up, right? There's chocolate involved. Well, I would like there to be chocolate involved. That's really just what I say. But we were walking through this half-mile trail, walking through the bulrushes, and eventually it became a boardwalk. So, yeah, it was kind of a neat deal. You were actually going over areas that were kind of watery, and there were even creatures, I can't even speak properly. There were creatures running around amongst our feet occasionally. We saw like a field mouse, and it was gorged, like it was ready for hibernation. Very, very cool. Yukon, I also love chunky peanut butter. I'm a fan of that. Yes, thank you, Libsnake, for reminding me. Honky Bear, that's another thing I caught this weekend. He made a wonderful song, and I was just talking about that with some people over the weekend. I loved the heck out of that. It was pretty darn neat. Please keep doing that. Please keep releasing more songs that you want to share with everybody, because that was fun. And I might have a surprise in store for you, Mr. Honky Bear, in relation to your song. So we'll see. As soon as I'm able to get the drum set back up. It's all still in the car right now, and I've got to take it with me today. Yeah, so once I get everything set back up here, I've got Moomin's tune to work on, and I've got something I might want to do with your tune. But good morning, Blue Sky. Good morning, Honky. Yeah, well, you saying okay? I'm not up yet. Good morning, me. Hey, how about that? Yukon Bear still cracking me up with the chunk sidetracks. Yes, he is quite a chunka. He might even make an appearance today. Ooh, the Love Chunk commercial, huh? I might be more than happy to have the Love Chunk commercial. So this will be the last iteration, for a while at least, of the Love Chunk or Your Kami shirts, and then we're going to have some other products available. I talked to Kikya about this. There might be some stickers out there. You can get your Big Drum Bear sticker action going on. Might be a Love Chunk or Your Kami sticker or some other variety of stickers. And those will be available, pardon my nose, at Bonfire or Redbubble or wherever I choose to work with for that one. But those would be much more within people's price range. You know, it could be a nice little B2B trinket that people could get into. Also, we're going to be talking about the Patreon account, that it will finally come to fruition where you can do something with it if you so desire. You can encourage other people to get involved in supporting BDB through Patreon, and there would be some content available. I'm working to get the first video lesson up, ready to rock. Let's see here. One moment. House full of dog hair. Can't keep it out of your mouth no matter what you do. We even have like air purifiers set up from time to time, and it's still not enough. So, yes, I had the opportunity to have a conversation last night, which is going to get shared with you. Not today, but a day fairly soon this week. We're going to have another bear interview. We did Love Bear, Harold Green, and next up would be someone you all know and love. And we're going to have that conversation about conversations with that guy. No. Useful, important stuff. And I hope you show him love, because it was his first time trying to do that, and he did a fantastic job. He educated the heck out of me. It was an amazing conversation. I had a blast. We did that late last night, so I'll just keep you a little bit in suspense. And if you know who you are, so keep the people in suspense. All right, I know they're in here right now, so yeah, keep them guessing. You know, I'm also going to go out and clip the Steve Pinder interviews that I've done, as well as the Field of Bears interview that I've done. I need to get those. I need to get those separate up here for you guys to check out on the channel here, because that's just cool, you know. And if somebody beats me to it, if somebody else wants to clip them too, that's a good idea. Yes, not gay Dave Rubin here for your agreeing pleasure. Yeah, that sounds a little wrong. I was told that Mr. Dave Rubin also recently did an interview with Glenn Beck that I should check out, because apparently it was really good. It was an excellent interview with the Beckster. And I have to hand it to Beck, because he encouraged me a lot years ago to get into reading history. I read a lot of stuff about George Washington thanks to him, but I mean, I've really barely scratched the surface, to be honest. But I learned a lot of things that I never knew about him. So, yeah, Beck was probably a catalyst to really encourage me to do that, and that it was like incumbent upon me as an American, as a husband and father, to make that a part of my life. So, very cool character. You know, some people was like, oh, he's gone all anti-Trump. And I haven't been listening lately, so I honestly don't know as much about that. I know that he wasn't a fan of Trump before the elections, and I can understand entirely why. I mean, I get that. He was very honest about that. And then after, you know, the day after the election happened, he's like, okay, clean slate. We're just going to, you know, everything that I've said, I'm going to set it down. I'm going to give him a fair shake. I want him to do well. I want the country to do well. So, yeah, cool, kick ya. I'm definitely going to check it out. He looks like he's dying. He's been looking like he's dying for years. And he's got significant health problems, as I recall. I remember one day I was watching his show or listening, and he was saying that he wasn't able to get out of bed. Like, he was so ill. This is one of the things that I really like, because he was always talking about pushing it, right? He was always talking about, you've got to develop a character that says, no matter what, be like the founders when they said that they were going to pledge their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to do what they knew needed to be done, right? When they put their names on the Declaration of Independence, they knew they were basically signing their own death warrant if they didn't win. Benjamin Rush was one of the founders that was an interesting character. I hope I'm remembering the name properly. Donated a massive amount of money to doing everything that was necessary for the revolution to happen and for us to separate from England and become our own nation. Insane amounts of money that we can't even begin to imagine. And he went in debt doing what he believed in. He spent his remaining days of his life in debtor's prison because he was doing what he believed in. He knew he was more than willing to go to jail to do what needed to be done. And I'd like to learn more about Benjamin Rush. I don't know enough about him. Amazing cat. Yeah, that's what I'm understanding. Some of y'all may know much more about him than I do. Patriot Bear 1776, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I bet you probably know much more about that than I do. So maybe one of these days I'll tap you for some of that info. So we're taking Chunk back to that weekend stuff. Taking Chunk on the walk, and of course Chunk has to drop a deuce. To drop a deuce. For those of you that don't speak militaryese, that's now going number 2. Right in the boardwalk, right? I mean, like, did it twice. And the first time he was good to go. You know, everything was, shall we say, solid. It was good to go. And it was not an issue. The second time, however, yeah, it was less than pleasant. Wasn't as easily cleansed. So I had to MacGyver a way to deal with that. Thankfully, there was enough dry brush and things like that in the area. But Yeah, funny times. Funny times when you're taking a dog for a walk. You never know what to expect. Even with a chunk. Chunky Doocy. Chunky Doocy. Yes. Yes, that's appropriate, Yukon. You're absolutely right. Kick, yo, where's my Jew mug? You know, that's a great point. But I'd love to tell you. And you know what? It's upstairs, and I haven't had my coffee yet. I was going to get that before I started the show, but I was so eager to get going because I knew I was running behind. It's sitting up on the counter up there. Oh, get yourself a Pender's Ugly mug, or a Field of Bears Handsome mug, or a Not Fake News mug from Roy Bear, or a Real News mug by Tommy Lee Bear. I might have the two switched, but plenty of people out there with mugs. You should check one out. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I just have like juice cut with water. That's my beverage right now, which is probably good. I need to be hydrated today. I need to be hydrated every day. Most of us are not nearly enough. So we're taking Chunk on this magical journey. We get out to the far end of the trail, and there's a dock over there. I'm going to not use that name, Sergeant Peterson. We're taking them over there and the kids, and we're checking this out. And it's where this dock is where I would cast off if I was going to take the canoe out there, which I'd love to do. I would love to get out there and go canoeing on this water. It would be unbelievable. And one of these days, I was going to take the canoe. We had the canoe attached to the stinking car, man. And I didn't get more than a mile from the house. This thing was strapped down and tied front and back to the car securely. But the winds were so heavy, it was torquing the canoe. So it was like diagonally positioned on top of the car. And my mind was saying, no, this is bad. This is not a good idea. I just had visions of it flying off and hitting another car. So I said, no, we're gonna scrap that plan for today. That's going to very much not happen. So took that back and just decided to go for the walk. But we got out there, we did this trail, we checked out the dock and everything. And there's another lookout point. It's not really a dock, or it's not a tower. It's just a deck or platform that looks out over the water. People could fish from there. I don't know what else they're going to want to do. But we checked all that stuff out. And at the beginning of this whole thing, that's kind of the thing I was trying to backtrack and remember. Twerking canoe. Yeah, it was, oh, goodness, it was something fierce. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, Patriot Bear's been in here. I'm sorry, I was just backtracking over the chat. Patriot been here. It's been here before. Patriot 1776 Bear. Obviously, because I've given him a wrench. So let's see now. So this tower that's at the front of the park when you come in, this like 30, 40 foot tower, it has a spiral staircase that works its way up to the top level. Chunk was coming with, he's like, yeah, let's go on up. And he gets about a third of the way up the steps and he's like, oh crap, what did I just agree on here? This isn't good. This is a bad idea. Because the winds were blowing like crazy and he was probably cold. Plus on top of that, he's like, I'm up high. Like I can see that I'm up high. This is concerning. You know, I don't know how to take this. Plus I don't think he'd ever been on a spiral staircase before. That was different. But I figured it out. What we ended up having to do was to get all four of my kids to go up to the top and my wife as well to start going up. And then he was willing to follow us since he was going to be the only one down there. He didn't want to be alone. So he worked his way and it took him a minute or two, but he gradually got all the way up to that top and he was much happier once he was up there. But we're about like 3/4 of the way up that thing and the winds just start howling. I mean, just shaking that tower a little bit. It was intense. And we're not quite up the stairs. And so I just grab a hold of him because he must have been freezing and freaking out a little bit there. He wasn't whining, but I could tell he was like, I'll run down these stairs. I'll do it. But we got up there. He went up there. I didn't have to drag him. He went on his own. And then we get up there and he's just like, oh, solid ground. You know, it's just nice and even here. I can chill. And you never saw a dog happier to be on level, not stairs ground. You know, but he was amazed because then he looked out over the whole area and he was checking it out. Even he was taken back by how insanely huge the view was, you know, and that sort of struck me, like that a dog would care, but he was looking, I mean, he was checking it out like, wow, you know, you could see it on his face. It was pretty fun. It was pretty neat. So we had a fun day with all that. I managed to get my kids fed for dinner and get them back to their mom's house. And then I had to head out back to my own house and get my drums packed up and try to get a little something, I think, to drink and to get dressed in my tuxedo because I had to get out to the I2 Society Hall over near Bartonville and play a 3-hour gig for their society dinner, their supper. And it was a blast. It was so much fun playing for these folks. A lot of couples, probably more in their 60s or 70s, you know, they were having so much fun dancing. They enjoyed every lick of it. You know, it was stuff from the era when they were younger, music that they were much more familiar with, that meant something to them, a lot of these tunes. And it was neat to go through a lot of these different styles. My drumming that night, throughout the evening, was really challenged because it was so important to maintain a solid pattern. It's funny because it's not super unlike a lot of modern pop music. I was thinking about this more and more. The patterns are so consistent, so solid. They have to be because people are out there dancing. And these are a little more intricate dances at times than some of the ones they do today. So to help people stay in that mood, you know, which is a much more relaxed mood than a lot of high energy, intense pop music. There's some intense songs like the sambas or the cha-chas. But some of the swings or waltzes that we played, even the rock ballads that we would do, you wanted to keep those really smooth and consistent. You always want to do that with any music you're playing. But in particular here, there were lots of little subtle details that I really had to hone in on because I wanted the mood to stay good for this event. And I do set a lot of that tone. I'm the instrument back there that really gets people's feet moving. Myself and the bass and the piano somewhat too. The rhythm section really has a lot of that job, but the drums, I mean, more formidably than most. It's the most noticeable, most punctuated rhythmic instrument. So, at least in my opinion, you know, my humble, totally unbiased opinion. But it was amazing to see these couples because all of these dudes were legends. You could tell, like, there was even this one guy who was a little, how do I say, stouter individual. I say that with respect and admiration, of course. But he had a very lovely lady on his arm, and he was being like a sly dog the whole time, and I mean that in a great way here. It was cool because he had all these moves, you know, all these little like flares and things in his dance style, and every ounce of that was about romancing and the interaction in the dance. It was like you weren't just being blunt and right out there. You had to be subtle. You had to be slow about it. And I really liked that, especially because there was a couple of younger couples that came to this thing, probably kids of some of the older folks that were part of the society. And these kids were getting to see that example, right? his kids were getting to see how a guy ought to treat a lady like she's a queen, you know? And it was super cool. I'm sorry, I'm just adjusting here because my camera's getting out of whack. I'm knocking my computer all over the place. It was just a neat experience. I really enjoyed the heck out of it. It was fun to play for them. I also paid for it. I got paid, but I also paid for it. Like, by the end of the night, this thumb was super sore right around this joint. Like, and I'd been using that as my snare hand. I'd been going back and forth between traditional grip and match grip at times, and then also taking a technique they call the cross stick. I'll see if I can demonstrate that for you. So here is my parade snare, and I can basically demonstrate to you what the cross stick is. So you take the stick, right, and I usually put the butt end of it. Some people actually flip the stick backwards and use the butt end and put the tip against the drum head. I prefer the butt end because it's a little easier to get back into just using the stick in the regular fashion. But what you do is you put the butt end of the stick on the drum head, and then you bring the whole stick down to contact the rim. And you get that kind of rim click sound. Now, this is a wooden rim drum. This is just the easiest one for me to grab right now. But usually you'll do it with a metal rim, and you'll get a much more wood blocky kind of sound, a very, very higher pitched click, right? So that becomes extremely important. That what they call like a clave sound, it becomes extremely important in a lot of the Latin styles of dance music, and you need to make sure that's well heard. So I wanted to get a nice clear click on that. So I'm having to hold the stick like this. I'm gonna get it in frame here. This is how I'm holding that throughout the night when I'm getting, it's really more like this. I'm holding it like this to get that click sound, and probably a little too forceful at times. You can see this is probably an improper way that I was doing it at times. I probably should have been out more like this and get that click, and that would have been better on my joints. It's a little awkward. I don't have quite the same pressure in the way I'm doing it, but little things like that, they can mess up your day if you're having to repetitively do them for 3 hours. And yeah, I realized I need to work that technique out a little bit better so I don't leave there with my joint feeling super sore right here in my thumb. Awkward thing. But yeah, it's funny. Drumming is definitely a highly athletic instrument to be playing, and you really have to pay attention to the subtle details. So otherwise you're going to, if you don't ahead of time, you will later, right? That's the lesson I got out of that. You guys are explaining thought. I love that. Oh, man. You didn't see me with a snifter? I wasn't drinking at all for 2 reasons. One, I'd prefer not to be inebriated while I play. Well, maybe there are times when I would like to be, at least a little bit. I wouldn't be opposed to having a beer, maybe a single shot of a good Scotch whiskey. Perhaps if it was a finer Scotch whiskey, I might be inclined. But I did not have the money to be doing that, so it wasn't within my budget to be doing any of that. So I said, no, that's okay. I'm going to pass. And they had quite a selection available that night. So, oh my goodness, Steve. Steve, I agree with you. I had to have thought, T-H-O-T, explained to me on this show, right? And somebody else had to tell me in the chat one episode. So I'm also feeling like an old man here. I know there's plenty of you that are older than me out there, but a bull roarer can be considered a percussion instrument. Wind is striking it. You have to swing it. It's probably not your traditional percussion instrument, because usually I think what's one of the defining factors of something being a percussion instrument is when something strikes something else, right? And a piano is somewhat considered that. Largely, some might say it's a stringed instrument, but it's both. It's a combination because you have a hammer inside. A hammer, right? I put the hard H in the hammers like our president has in the past. But the hammer, right? It's connected to the key that you press on the outside of the piano. And so with some lever action stuff going on inside, this hammer comes forward and it strikes the particular strings that you want it to. And it is strings. It hits multiple strings at the same time to sound the individual notes. It's really cool. If you open up a piano sometime and take a look at it, you're actually hitting more than one string simultaneously. It's really cool. Yes, it is Best Answers. Well spoken. That's awesome. It is, in fact, hammer time when you sit at the piano. Let's see now. So other percussion instruments that are more traditional, like drums, you know, or even the clave sticks that you bang together, tambourine, you're striking something against something else. We have keyboard percussion, which are like instruments you typically play with mallets, and those are you know, commonly referred to as the mallet percussion instruments, whereas drums are typically referred to as membrane percussion instruments. Cymbals are a whole nother ball game. I won't even get into that now, but oh, someone's trying to make a cameo. You know, my dear dog Gita, she will whine at you if you stop petting her for like 2 seconds. I'm not even joking. Yesterday there were multiple occasions where that went down. And I'd be sitting there on the couch next to her for a few minutes, petting. I think after we got home from church, we're just resting, eating some lunch. And she starts whining, you know, and I'm like, well, I'll pet you, you know, and I petted her for quite a while. I was just rubbing her belly and all that kind of fun stuff. And oh, I'm getting distracted by chat. Yeah, eating lunch, rubbing on Gita's belly, and then I stop for a minute as I'm doing something else, and she starts whining almost immediately. Why aren't you petting me? This is awful. And because of all that, I sometimes I will start talking to her. Like, I'll talk to her as if she completely understands what I'm saying, and I'll give her a lecture, right? My children are well acquainted with when I get into lecture mode. It is what happens. It is how Dad communicates what they need to know, and they'll either get it or they won't. But it's funny. It was just something I was thinking about, kind of hilarious there, that I'll talk to her and I'll start lecturing her on why she is whining and why that's unacceptable, you know, why she doesn't really have a business doing that, because she doesn't have the proper perspective about suffering in life. And I thought, my wife is cracking up while I'm doing this, because it's utterly ridiculous for me to have, you know, a verbose, in-depth conversation with my dog, and Gita of all dogs. But I thought, boy, those could be funny bits. Those could be some funny stuff to share, you know. Gita, I'll tell you what. Hang on one second. Gita, come here. Never mind. Whine. And now she's gone back upstairs. Soon as I was about to, see, she didn't have perseverance. She didn't see it through. If she had done that, if she had read Jocko Willink's Extreme Ownership, she might have understood the value of pressing forward and continuing on with what she needed to do. So, let's think here. Got done with that gig late on Saturday night, and helped the non-Bernie Sanders Randy Crump helped him clean everything up. Band leader guy, he's a great guy. Helped him get some things squared away, and then he headed home. I wanted to finish getting that Instagram post up for you guys, and then I headed home and got a little bit of sleep, and then got up and played drums at church, which was a good bunch of fun. Wished I could have streamed that. That didn't work out as well, because that was quite a service. It was a lot of fun. Almost nobody was there. Like it was a weekend off for a lot of people, and so we were just making the service work. You know, and it went really well. But the music was extremely intense for that weekend. We were playing a Gunger song that was a lot of fun. Beautiful Things, I think, was the name of it. Some of you may have heard that by a guy named Gungor, Gungor. And he has a couple other really neat songs. Dry Bones is one of my favorite by Gungor. He gets the cellist beatboxer from Pentatonics. And if you guys don't know about them, they've done some interesting tunes. An a cappella group that does some wild stuff. And then, so this guy, he'll occasionally play cello with them and does a lot of beatboxing and things for him. He's a really talented guy. And he comes in to play this tune. There's this girl playing some sort of a piano. It's like an accordion style device. I can't quite remember. I'm trying to picture it. And then Gungor's playing guitar, and he also has a bass drum in front of him, a little mini bass drum. So they have this unique instrumentation set up. Yeah, Boulder, they do some ridiculous stuff. Well, this Gungor video called Dry Bones, it just had the weirdest, creepiest tone to it. It was almost Tim Burton-y in a way, in the feel of it. And it starts in this like dark minor key and shifts to a major as you go throughout it. It has a lot of moments of that. It's very haunting, but cool. And I was like, I haven't seen a lot of people that are well known in like the mainstream Christian contemporary music scene do something like this. This is cool. This is neat. I'll be honest, I've played so much CCM since I was starting to play drums. That's what I was raised on, largely with CCM, but then I discovered Rush, and then I discovered Dream Theater, and then I discovered amazing other drummers of all shapes, sizes, and who knows. Terry Bozzio, 9 bass drums, 30 plus tom-toms, etc. I mean, 60 different cymbals. How can you not be absolutely enamored with that? Thanks on a journey. You're cracking me up. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I don't need firearms in my home, obviously. My Second Amendment rights come with, through I have the right to bear drums. That's what it is. Cracking me up, bud. Let's see. So, fun music we played. Really good time. Good to commune with those folks. And we got a guy over there named Nate Terry, who he's one of the mentors to our pastor, and he's got his own ministry. He does prison ministry because he was in prison for a number of years and has had a pretty intense past, and now he'll go back and preach to some of those same cats that are going through what he went through. And he's got a lot of credit to Speaker because of his own experiences, but what he's come through. And I have not seen too many people that live a Christian life as passionately as that guy does. Pretty immense guy in his passion. So he was able to give a message that weekend, and that was a lot of fun. And I think he was really hitting home this idea that you've heard said before as like an adage, like love the sinner, or love the sinner, hate the sin. I thought I was about to screw it up. No, I was saying it right. Love the sinner, hate the sin concept. Like having a better understanding of what sin is, I think, was part of what that whole conversation was about. It was definitely worthwhile. And we get done with all that. We get packed up and get out of there. And yeah, came home and actually rested for a little while because both my wife and I were just ridiculously tired. But I still had plenty of work to work on. So been trying to get some things done yesterday, but rested quite a bit yesterday. It was very necessary. I saw that Big Bear did a stream. I turned it on. I didn't get to watch a whole lot of it. I was otherwise occupied. We went out and got the dogs walked at one point. I was cooking stuff in the crock pot, getting stuff ready to have some meals available during the week this week, and making our dinner and some other details. And then I did an interview with somebody last night before I went to bed too. So Still got things accomplished. But yeah, it was a needed rest the other day. Very, very, very needed. Oh, I'm discovering that more as I go along, that you've got to carve out time for that. And you've got to have those experiences. Just let them be, right? You try to make plans like I tried to make. I experienced this last week. Maybe this is the focus of what this whole episode is about today. I tried to make plans last week. I was like, I'm going to start this. See, I've got it right here now. I often wouldn't have it nearby. I'm like, where did I put it? Got this. Let me get my cords tangled. That's a good idea. I picked this up a while back from a flea market. And it's a combination. It's two different books. Let me show you the blank page. Yeah. The Machiavelli. In fact, it's got a book called Leviathan by Thomas Hobbes. Leviathan, or Matter, Form, and Power of a Commonwealth, Ecclesiastical and Civil. So we've got a little bit of interesting stuff shared by him. And it's funny, The Prince by Machiavelli, which we're going to get into soon here in a separate set of videos, it's really short. I think I've showed you guys this, and it's like the whole Machiavelli part is very, very, very short. Yeah, there's not a whole lot here to this, and then you've got the whole Thomas Hobbes book, which is interesting. So both are useful, but I'm going to get this done. And I had plans all week. I'm like, I'm totally going to do this. I'm going to put this out for you guys. New book by Robert Spencer, History of Jihad. Oh, that could be interesting. I've heard of Bob Spencer before. I might have to check that out. So I made plans all week. I was going to do this, right? Yeah, that obviously didn't happen. And then I was trying to do the same thing this weekend. I was like, I'm going to make plans. We're going to go canoeing. We're going to do this. It's going to be awesome. When we weren't able to go canoeing, when I had to admit and say, this is not going to work, we're not going to be able to do this safely, when I had to admit defeat on that one, I was so amazingly pissed off. I was very, very, very livid, but I wasn't expressing it. I wasn't like exuding it, I was just feeling it. It was just churning in here. It was so full of anger because the plans that I had made were not able to go down the way I had intended. It was amazingly frustrating. And I sat with that for a little bit. I'm running through some of these thoughts and having to have a conversation with myself about it, because we're driving back from where we were thinking about trying to set in, and it wasn't happening. It was just too crazily windy. There wasn't going to be enough time for us to enjoy much once we got up there. If we did this, my wife was going to have to leave, before the rest of us did. And we were going to have to get out of there because we were going to have time to get dinner. We got off to a late start. A lot of different things happened that just caused us to not end up having enough time to really make it work. So, yeah, it was massively frustrating. Massively. And I thought about that throughout the week. I'm like, there were a number of occasions where I wanted to get the book thing started, the book videos started, and that didn't happen. It's always one more thing, just one more thing that keeps coming up. Gosh darn it, I can't get to the stuff I want to get to. It's like driving me mad. I want to do stuff that's productive. I want to do stuff that's useful and encouraging to others, stuff that's going to be useful to people. Like, I know going canoeing is good for my kids to do. There's a ton of stuff you learn, even if they don't always enjoy it every minute. Once we get onto the water, 9 times out of 10, they end up enjoying it in some way, shape, or form. And my dad made me get out and do that, right? When I was younger, I went through a period of time where I wasn't as thrilled about doing it. I'm like, I was much more interested in some other stuff I'd rather do. I had different ideas, but I missed out on a number of opportunities to do that in my teens. And I regret it now. As I got older, I'm like, man, there's a calling in me about doing this. Like, I need to be on that water. I got to get out there. Learning how to twerk the canoe, twerk on the canoe. You're cracking me up, man. Oh, man. Yeah, it was an interesting experience this whole week. Just being able to share with you how things went. Like I had a couple of days where I had to not do an episode, you know, and I learned that your plans are not always going to work out the way you think they ought to. You should make them, definitely make them, but they're not going to be foolproof, and you're going to have to continue to reevaluate. I think I caught a little bit of Jordan Peterson Q&A live recently, just a little bit, and I think it was Kick It or somebody else that had mentioned to me that you know, he had made some comments concerning his tweets. You know, he was trying to talk about Lobstergate again a little bit. And I wanted to hear what he had to say about that. I really wanted to hear some of his thoughts. And in the process of that, I heard some of the other questions that he was answering. One of them was a person saying, I'm just a massive procrastinator and I get next to nothing done and I'm really sick of it. I don't know how to get out of it. I don't know how to get past this and be effective with what I'm doing. Yes, Steve, you're absolutely right. God does have better plans. That's a great point. And I'm coming to that, actually. What Peterson told this guy, or girl, I don't know which, was you need a plan. You need to have a plan. You need to start. Even if it's a bad plan, it's going to be better than what you've got right now. And he's right. I think that's right. Even a bad plan is better than no plan at all. Just doing things haphazardly. So I try to go forward and make some degrees of plans. They're probably bad plans. They're probably not that great. And so when they don't work out, I'm like, gosh darn it, I tried to plan and it still fell apart. It didn't end up working. I didn't see it through right. It's like, I try to do stuff and then other things that I can't control or I should have planned for, right, interfere. But see, that's the whole point. You're supposed to let it happen that way. Expect that the stuff you plan for won't necessarily work out. You're going to be a lot less disappointed, right? Expect that other things that are unexpected will happen and you will learn something. And I learned a ton as I'm looking back at it from this whole week. I learned some technical things, you know, stuff that happens with my computer, some things that I have to make a habit. I have to shut it down regularly so that it can be refreshed. It doesn't get bogged down. I was just checking, seeing what you guys said. Yeah, I'm not keeping up with the chat very well. I don't know what's happening right now. On a Journey, it throws some interesting things out there. Let's see now. What was I thinking? See, you squirreled me. Yes, Steve puts that well. It's like a lot of times I do have intentions. I have plans that I want to accomplish certain things. And they're good plans. They're good ideas. But the execution is perhaps short-sighted, right? The way I'm going about doing it is short-sighted. And I'm in a process of growth and learning. Always. We all are. The more we get humbled so that we accept that, the perhaps better the plans that we come up with will be. It's great to have plans. Like we should have plans. And yes, God's plans are absolutely better. That's for sure. I've seen people go to an extreme with that where they're like, well, I just won't plan at all. I mean, God's got the plan already figured out. Yeah, he does. But he also gave us a mind to, you know, for the practical stuff that we have to do day to day, have a plan, go forward and try to do what we know we ought to do, right? The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable. And it comes from Proverbs, and I can't quote you the exact chapter and verse, but I remember that verse distinctly. It is stuck in my mind for many, many years. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable. I'm not righteous by any means. But from my perspective, from my belief, which I think is the truth, right? I've had the righteousness of Christ imparted to me, right? So by virtue of that, the ideas and plans that come to my mind are worthwhile, right? I can understand. I have a mind that I've been given that desires to do right, desires to do well. And so I have responsibilities that I need to take care of. And I put some effort into trying to manage that and do better at that. That's a good thing, right? That said, be ready to have that interrupted. 10:32, that's the proverb. There you go. Steve says it's sometimes like a boat paddling one way and God paddling the other. We may, where he wants us to be, you know, we may paddle where he wants us to be, but going in the wrong direction. Yeah, and sometimes you might need to change that. It's like, oh, you said that was the same tweet twice, or the same. Oh, you corrected what you said. Hang on, I'm just comparing the two. Being in a boat. Oh, okay. Yeah, I figured that part out. And God paddling the other. Gotcha. We may be where he wants us to be, but going the wrong direction. Exactly. Yes, and we often do. And we get out there, we're going somewhere, and he may let us go. Kind of like we let our kids do things. We let our kids make mistakes. We let our kids do stuff that may not be the most productive. Like, my kids have interest in video games at times, and I'm like, that's fine. I encourage you in that to some degree, a small degree, right? Like, I had a blast with video games as a kid, but I put a cap on it. Like I said, there's a point at which that's unproductive, right? And so I put limits on the time that they have with computer and video games. A fairly stringent limit. I'll have some weeks where they're here and we just don't do it at all. We intentionally do other stuff other than that. And I know that that's a good thing. But it doesn't mean that I think that you should never do a video game. Right? I think that there's plenty of utility there. There's plenty of creativity they can develop. Even watching movies and TV, right? That's something you can do too much of easily. But there's utility there. Kind of like I talked about earlier in the week about a game I did with the kids on Wednesday night. That was actually kind of fun. And it prompted them to create some excellent art that I really dig. So be ready for your intentions, your plans, your attempts as you grow to be interrupted, right? Whether you believe in the God of the Bible or not, whether you're an atheist or not, whatever your background be, it's a principle that holds true regardless. You don't know everything, and that's okay. Try with the best you've got and expect that things aren't going to work out necessarily. I mean, you want them to. Don't go like, oh, I'm going to make this plan, but it's probably going to stink. Like, you don't have to be self-defeatist about it, right? But go forward, confidently try to execute what you've intended to do, and be ready for interruptions and work with them. Because that's what we did the other day. You know, like I worked with interruptions to my week. You know, things not happening the way I planned. And I still got to do a fun video for you guys. I still got to put on a Big Drum Bear After Dark, and you got to share in some of the music, right? Speaking of which, that was actually kind of funny because only 2 of those tunes that we played came up with copyright notice in my YouTube channel. It's like, oh, by the way, this has copyrighted information in it or copyrighted material. And it's not barring me from keeping the video going. You know, I think that it's monetized now. Like, I think that ads can be played on that video, and the people that own those songs can now make money off those songs, you know, because of that being up there. So I'm like, that's fine. That's cool. No problem there. But yeah, I still got to put out some cool stuff for you guys. And that was great. I was excited about that. I didn't originally get to do the intention I had with my kids going out canoeing, but we still got to have a blast over at this park and have some adventure with it, do some things that we weren't planning on doing. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the way things turned out. It doesn't always have to be the way you think it has to be, because sometimes there's stuff that's better or more important that needs to come. So what do you do with it when that anger, that frustration gets to you? Because that definitely affected me and does affect me at times. Like, I'm no different than the next guy. I get enraged about stuff, but I made a decision a long time ago that it was important for me to sheath that sword, if you will. Like, I'm not always perfect. Sometimes I get visibly angry, not violently per se, but people can tell, right? And is there something wrong with people telling that you're angry? No, I think that you need to be able to express those things, but you need to have ownership of your emotions. If you decide ahead of time and you practice having ownership of your emotions and your words, then you can use them the way you want to, the way that could be best. Because in the moment, you're not going to know. In the moment, when you're still flaring up with tons of that, you're not going to be able to make rational decisions as easily. So having the wisdom to sit on it a little bit, let it stew, let other thoughts filter in, right? Try to take other thoughts to substitute the anger a little bit at a time as you're willing. But know that you have a massive sword in your brain with that anger, and you can do damage with it, with your words and with your attitude. Especially with kids, right? You can't just constantly fly off the handle. It's not healthy for you or them or anybody else. It's not a good example. So I think one of the best parts of the weekend was that I got an experience in practicing that better. Interesting. Yeah, it's not easy for a lot of us. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It definitely takes intentional practice. It takes focused, disciplined decisions that you carry out day after day. That's been my experience with it anyway. That's just I'm working through the thoughts right now to kind of figure that out. You know, I'd love it if you guys share in the video today, once I post this. Come back and share a time when things haven't worked out the way you intended to. You had a plan in mind, right? In whatever level of detail you want or don't. But I'd love a few comments at least. If you could put some thoughts in there about a time when you've been really frustrated about something. You had plans, and then something came and interrupted it. How did it end up working out for you? What happened instead? And what did you do with it? How did you go about dissipating the frustration that you've experienced? Right? That's a really good thing. Share your experience of how, and it's good for you to think about it. It's a great exercise to actually process in your mind, how did I overcome that flurry of frustration and anger? What do you do with that, right? Just think, you have an opportunity by sharing that comment to impact the lives of other people, right? Somebody comes in and sees replay and they look at those comments, because I go to videos and read comments, and sometimes it's the funniest flipping thing you've ever seen. Who was it that shared this video in Hangouts a while back? Somebody shared this video of some pep rally at a high school somewhere where they blindfold a bunch of kids that are like, I don't know, captains of sports teams at the school. And then they send someone up to give them a kiss, but they don't know who it is. And when they take out the blindfolds, it's their parents. And the kissing that was happening was gross. Like one of the kids was grabbing his mom's butt. I mean, it was just like, oh, how did this become acceptable? How did this become like an activity for a pep rally? It's like, oh, they're just playing. It's just kids. It's just funny. No. Oh my gosh. It was disturbing in the extreme. And it's my perspective on that is further solidified by the fact that there were 1.7K likes and 7.7 or more dislikes when I saw the video. Like the like to dislike ratio was so obviously demonstrating that the majority of people thought that was absolutely horrendous, right? Then you go read the comments section. Some of the comments were mind-blowingly funny. They were so well put because the people were just like sticking it to these folks. I'm like, are you mental? Right? Like, what's happening here? Oh, yes. Talk about scarring kids for life. You're right, LibSnake. You're absolutely right. Hey, Barry Happy. Glad you could join us. Goodness, it must be like 7, a little after 7 your time. Is that right? Because you're up there in Alaska. So this has to be, what, just a little after 7 for you? Every kid needs a few scars. No, no, they don't. Not that kind. Oh, some people are like, if that had been my mom, I would have punched her. Like they legit said, like, no, I'm done. Or they were thinking like that would have been a life ender embarrassment. Like that horrific. Man. Yeah, it's I know. I caught the LOL. I figured you were kidding, Kick you. Yeah, it's 7. I kind of figured. It's I'm always doing these things. I'm trying to get earlier. I got like very close to 9 today. Very, very close. I used to do this at 7 in the morning. I used to be streaming at 7 a.m. Central Time. I shifted it forward about 2 hours to let more people catch it, you know, or catch more of it. But I definitely wanted to get done a little sooner today because I have an appointment to go to today. If you've never heard of Rock Solid Studio, you should hear of it because it's kind of awesome. I'm going to try to bring it up if I can. And let's see here. I'm going to give you a little internet window. Rock. Yeah, how about that? It should come right up now. So you guys want to check this place out online. I mean, they're a local place, but it's still flipping cool. There's a guy named Jimmy Bridgman, and he's a really, really cool dude. I'd known about him in the area for a long time, but I'd never met him. And we finally crossed paths. We finally decided to have a sit-down meeting over coffee and get to know each other, see what we could bring to the table for one another. And today I'm going to go over there and have a studio tour and just chat with these guys a little bit more. But this place is so cool. This place is unbelievable. Rock Solid Studio. They took an old church and converted it into a recording studio, and it's so legit. I mean, they make some beautiful music over there. Oh, what just happened? Why did it change? Oh, I'm getting one of those pop-up things. It's probably going to ask me to see if I... Yeah, I already have one, actually. But thank you. I have a free studio tour. Thank you. There we go. And that's good. It should do that. I'm not upset about it. But these guys are just so cool. They took an old church and converted it into a recording studio. And a buddy of mine named Chris Joy, he actually did some recording up there for a young local artist. He put some of his instrumentation into a song of hers. So, yeah, they've got some cool stuff here. They're up in Dunlap, Illinois. And, yeah, cool folks. He's a Christian guy, you know, and he's trying to do right by folks, trying to bring a really good, solid, quality recording studio and all the services associated with it to Peoria. And they have different functions there. One of these groups that is well known in the Peoria area a group named Steady Flow. They have put on some, I guess, seminars there about how they kick it. You know, like stuff in terms of recording, some of the details behind recording and how you do it better, things you can do to prepare and make your recordings just greater quality. And I missed out on those. I wish I'd been able to go to some of those. They were really neat because all those guys are just unreal musicians. Kendall Smith, that cat is, he's about 10 years younger than me, and this cat is just smoking on the drums. Unbelievably insane. He's played behind a couple of great artists around here, of course, Steady Flow. He's played at Northwoods Community Church often, and I believe works there. And he also played for an artist named Aaliyah Colgan, a country artist who was starting to do some up-and-coming stuff. And I think she's still rocking it, doing some good stuff. But in fact, I played a gig alongside her one time, not with her, but same stage. I think she was one of the headlining musicians that day, and I met some of the people in her group at that time. I was playing for another local artist named Brent Stortzum. By the way, check him out, Brent Stortzum and the Valentines. He's killer, dude. He's a great guy, great rock guy. I worked with him a couple of years ago for a couple of gigs here and there, and yeah, got a little. Bit of momentum in the music scene around here. That was fun. But yeah, Kendall's ridiculous, man. You gotta check that cat out. That cat knows how to drum. Steady Flow, that's what's up. And they connect quite a bit with these Rock Solid Studio guys. Yeah, definitely want to check them out and direct people that you know that are around this area to go check out Rock Solid Studio. People that are out of this area, who knows? They might want to come and use Rock Solid because they're just what's up. Another thing that I thought I'd bring up before we head out, because it's a worthwhile thing to bring up. It's that time. The link will be put out. It will be time once again to not see red. You want to love Chunk. That's what you got to do. And I think the previous links that we've had should still work. You may be able to go and do that because I think the campaign can be reactivated whenever someone starts buying again. I could be wrong. We've sold today. If purchased today, orders will start shipping November 13th. So we will have another period. But what I'm thinking is that I'm going to open a period up so we can do this right. So yeah, I want to log in. I don't necessarily want to be showing that to you guys. Well, you can't see my password, so it's all right. I'm not too upset. All right. So you're going to see it live right here. Edit the campaign. Oh, wait. No. Oh, yeah. Okay. So what colors? That's what I wanted to do. What colors do we want in this? Do we want the same colors or do we want anything different? I got to come back to the internet window and see. Do we want new colors for this sucker? Guys, you're always cracking me up. I'm like, how dare you have not that many likes? What's wrong with people? Come on, 25 people in the room and there's only 14 likes. What's wrong with everyone? It's so funny to me. I love that. You can just guilt people into liking the video. All right, hit the like button now. Do it now. Do it now. Like, subscribe, share, comment. That's what makes these things grow. That's what helps this whole community grow. Gives me the ability to come out and visit bears, because that's what the future of this show is going to be, visiting bears. And you can't see me right now. You see the Chunk shirt. I know that. But I want you guys to tell me, like the thing, of course, like the video. Wait, no, that's what I want. You're seeing yourselves. I forgot I was in the internet window because I can't see what I'm doing. All right, so I want you to put it out in the chat. I'm going to come back to me now. What colors do we want to get? Well, no, I'm not going to come back to me just yet. Am I? No, I kind of got to, because I got to get out. It's about that time. Where are you guys? There you are. Yeah. Maybe you could put that as a comment in today's video as well. Hey, Ruxpin Bear, good to see you. Oh, you're way cool. No, I appreciate that. 20 likes equals 5 commies. Well, if they buy the shirt, then that'll make up for it, right? Ruxpin Bear, I gotta hook you up, man. You gotta be wrenched, because that's only appropriate. You're one of us, right? I trust you. All right, so here's the deal. Yeah, I don't want to necessarily shoot him. I mean, yeah, part of me might, but if they strike first, I might have to. We'll see. If they strike first. But there's always Chunk. You know, Chunk will get him. Chunk will rock it. Anyway, drop the colors in the comment section or just text me. What colors do you want to see? And I'll add that. I'll add that to what we're doing. Get some new colors in the mix. Red is going to stay, of course. And that's predominantly what most of you bought. But if you want to see some other colors besides the white and the blue and the green and the gray, well, let me see what I can make happen, and we'll get some other fun stuff in there, right? All right, so I'm going to step out because I got to go to this meeting. I got to get up there and stuff. But I'll tell you what you guys do. You guys are beautiful people, not in like Marilyn Manson way or anything like that. But you're beautiful folks, beautiful bears, and I'm great to be able to spend time with you and share my life with you. Encourage, engage your mind, engage your body, engage your heart, and seek to serve the ultimate purpose. I love bears. I love spending time with bears. And get ready for the Chunk shirt because it's coming at you. Peace to you, my bears. That canoe got torqued by the wind. I can't play piano for the wind. This really is the end.
Peace Bears.